I feel like everyone's like, oh, once you get there or whatever there is, then things will be easy. But I feel like there just keeps moving the closer you get
Moving
to it.
back. Yeah,
Mhm.
you get there and then you look around and you go, it doesn't look the way I thought. It doesn't feel the way I thought it would feel. I'm still not happy. There's that word. I'm still not content. I still don't
Mhm.
feel like the liberty I thought I would. So then yeah, onward with another set of goals and another set of goals.
Welcome to Go Get Great, the podcast for aspiring entrepreneurs and ambitious small business owners. I'm your host, Brittany, owner of Brittany Miller Socials and mother of three. Go Get Great is all about helping you make life and business work together. You'll learn about the fumbles that helped get me and my guests to where we are today so you don't have to make them. So come join the journey with Go Get Great. Welcome back to another episode of the Go Get Great podcast. I am so excited to have a fantastic guest on with me today. So before we get started, I want to introduce her. Her name is Amanda Inglis. She was raised on a farm just off the shore of Lake Erie, south of London, Ontario. So she is a local, which I love. And at a young age, she became known within her community for her insatiable curiosity for the creative arts. Her interdisciplinary mindset earned her a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater Studies from York University. Following the loss of her father in 2008, Amanda returned to her rural roots and discovered solace in the study of botany with a newfound appreciation for the delicate life cycle of flowers. She works with oil on canvas to depict her homegrown floral subjects in anatomical detail, and let me tell you, she is very skilled at what she does. Her artwork serves as a symbol of the beauty found within the symbolic relationship between resilience and vulnerability. Her debut collection earned her accolades as an award-winning artist at the Royal Botanical Gardens in Burlington, Ontario for her piece Timeless Trinity. Amanda humbly described her knowledge of working with oils akin to the progression of a real gardener's maturation, at 2 decades of growing at a quiet pace. So I am so excited to have a fantastic conversation with Amanda today. We really get open and vulnerable about some of the experiences that we've had as women and more specifically moms in business and about some of the different myths and misconceptions that are out there. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right. Well, good morning and welcome back to another episode of the Go Get Great podcast. I am so excited to be here today. I have guest Amanda with us to dive into what I think is going to be a fabulous conversation that we need to be talking about more. But before we do that, I would love to introduce Amanda to you for those of you that don't know her. So, Amanda, say hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Brittany, for having me on. What we're going to talk about today is a super important topic. And you're right. We need to be loud about this one. We need to go out and get it. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
um,
So, tell us a
yeah.
little bit about what you do.
Yes. So I am a self-taught oil painter. I grew up in Rodney, Ontario. So there's not too many artists or professional artists from where I'm from. Grew up on the farm, surrounded by the pigs, the cows, the crops, if you're familiar with Elgin County, it's absolutely beautiful and tucked right along the shore of Lake Erie, Ontario. But there's not a lot of fine art there. So I'm kind of a little bit of a stranger when it comes to that. So I've been able to start a little business and build up my career as an oil painter. And I only do florals, floral realism. So I really try and repaint the flowers as I saw them in my garden with a little bit more color. Yeah, I grow all of them myself. And the odd time a little pollinator might show up in a few of the petals as well, some bees or anybody that just happens to be out there when I'm out photographing for my paintings. So that's
That's
what I do.
awesome. Now, the one that I can see in the background, is that one that you've painted
Yeah.
yourself? I hope so.
It is, yes. Let me
Yeah.
tip you up a little bit there for anybody that's watching us. Yes, that is actually a
Beautiful.
birdhouse that was in our backyard. We've just moved to a new home, but that was a birdhouse, and there's quite a story behind that painting. And I won't share it here, Brittany,
Okay.
because that story will be coming out soon. But the painting Brittany's talking about is called A Handmade Home. And
Oh.
it's got quite a large story behind it, despite what you see in the actual painting. So So you can keep that a secret for now.
Okay. I'm excited. You'll have to let us know how and when you're sharing it so that we can tune
For
in. I'm intrigued
sure.
now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so our topic for today, Amanda listened to one of my podcast episodes and reached out because I've kind of talked a little bit about this before about, expectations that we have of ourselves in business. So we thought it would be a fabulous idea to have a specific conversation about the lies or like half truths that are around what entrepreneurship looks like, specifically as a mom. Because I know when I got started, it's not what I thought it was gonna be. Everything's wrapped in a little bit of a pretty bow. And it's
Mhm.
unfair for people that want to step into entrepreneurship and have those expectations because you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. So today we're going to talk about some of those things that we've experienced. So Amanda, do you want to lead us off with one that you have?
Oh, like one of the myths that I thought, or I guess I
Mhm.
kind of want to say, what drew me to reaching out to you and exploring this topic further was, yes, I saw your emotional, visceral reaction to kind of a groundbreaking reality check that you had about like what this actually looks like and is to be a mompreneur, and
Mhm.
balancing family and running your own business. And I always am drawn to people when they show their vulnerability, as you did. I thought it was a very hard thing because I related, but a very
Well,
beautiful
thank
thing at
you.
the same time. Yeah, I'm so proud of you for showing that. And the reason being is I started my business January 2024. I've previously owned another business as well. I owned a spa business where I ran a full service spa and I was a sole
Oh.
proprietor. Yeah, up until COVID. And then just decided to take a different direction after then. But it's always, I made a lot of mistakes when I ran the spa, trying to balance. I had a first time mother and a newborn, and just I failed the work life balance back then. That's not why I decided to close the business. The business didn't fail, but I failed as a human behind it. I really did. And the strain that put on all my relationships around me, the strain on the relationship with myself. So when I saw and heard your podcast, entering and opening my fine art business and starting back again as an owner and operator, I thought, this is how I'm going to do it differently. And I watched you learning all the mistakes I made for the first time. And
Mhm.
that's what really drew me to this topic to like reach out to you. So I hope I can share some of the lessons I learned and the things I'm still learning and trying to implement this time around.
I feel like everyone's like, oh, once you get there or whatever there is, then things will be easy. But I feel like there just keeps moving the closer you get
Moving
to it.
back. Yeah,
Mhm.
you get there and then you look around and you go, it doesn't look the way I thought. It doesn't feel the way I thought it would feel. I'm still not happy. There's that word. I'm still not content. I still don't
Mhm.
feel like the liberty I thought I would. So then yeah, onward with another set of goals and another set of goals. And
Mhm.
um I spoke previously in an interview about being such a goal centered society, and how this time around in business, well, it's good to have those long term goals in mind. How I've actually found that the needle on my business is moving more when I allow for a certain balance of organic growth as well, instead of
Mm. Okay.
control towards the goals. So that's hard to do and it's new, but it's working.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So, since the episode that we're talking about, which I'll link in the show notes for you if you haven't listened to it, I haven't really set any new goals for myself, which is really new for me because, yeah, I
Right.
very much a goals person. That's what society and school taught me. You strive for the
Right.
A, pass that class, you move on to the next one, so to speak. And I was just like, no, like I need to take a break from it because I got to that point where the goals were actually causing me anxiety and frustration and
Mm.
giving me those feelings of failure because I wasn't hitting them at the timeline that I thought I should be.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like,
Mhm.
okay, well, we don't want to feel like a failure anymore. So like let's throw the goals out the window for a while. And I feel like my business has grown a lot in the last little
Mm.
bit. And it's just felt easier and more organic and in flow. So this is like a totally new concept for me, but I'm really loving the feeling of it. So it's nice to hear that you're kind of in that space too. And it's interesting to see how when we put the goals aside, we're actually able to move towards them faster, which seems
Right.
counterintuitive.
Counterintuitive. And that's the thing too, is I found when I was so focused on such concrete short-term goals. One of the questions I know you cover a lot in your podcast is why we've started our businesses, and it's a nice story to share. And at the heart of it, Brittany, I loved gardening so much and I loved painting my flowers back to reality every winter
Yeah.
that I just wanted, what do you do with flowers when you pick them in your garden? You give them to people, you share them. And the reason I started my business was to bring like-minded people into my circle. Yeah, I was kind of reevaluating. I'm halfway through my 30s, and I think we start to reevaluate the people around us then that are coming into the next chapters in our lives. You're kind of done the university in the 20s, and your friends look different. And I really thought I want to attract people that have like-minded values and visions and hopes and dreams that I do. And so having those concrete short-term goals, what I found it was inhibiting me was I was cutting out and editing a lot of people, because if they didn't align with that short-term goal in that moment, it's not that somebody's ever useless to me, but I wouldn't value the connection. And then when I opened and expanded everything around me to reach a longer term goal, all of a sudden there was room for so many more people and connections to come into my space and
Mm-hmm.
support my business or support my personal growth. So just by pushing those goals back and allowing more space literally allows for more to come into your life.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. It's like I think back to who I used to hang out with in university, and it's a very different group of people now. Not that I don't appreciate those friendships, but you grow apart, and I really like kind of the metaphor that you use. You were like weeding your friendship garden almost as you moved through different phases of life. Um, yeah, that really
And I
that.
think that's a natural thing too, as we go through changes, you and I becoming mothers, the people that support you change, your friend groups change, and people that share motherhood with you become closer, and those who don't maybe grow a little distant. And then when we decide to start our own businesses, people that align with that value and that dream for us, they become closer. People who haven't had that experience or don't agree with us, they become distant. So yeah, and I think that that's all positive. I think that moving forward in life like that, with or without people, is positive, not
Mhm.
negative. Yeah.
And I think that kind of actually ties into the topic that we were talking about because you start a business and you assume that everyone is going to support you. And I
Oh, you
feel
sure
like
do.
you really do, but that's not always the situation. I feel like big life events like, getting married and having kids and starting a business
Mm.
really kind of open up an awareness almost of the people that are truly there to support you in the new phase that you're in versus the ones that are not. And I found that I really had to kind of weed some of those people out when I started my business and became a mom, partially because my interests changed and what I talk about now is like 50% business and 50% my children, and if you don't have either, you
Right.
don't understand me.
You don't know what we're talking about. Yeah.
No, but you have to
Yeah.
really be um, intentional about who's in your circle when you're starting a business because you need the people that are cheering you on because you are undertaking this very big challenge and you can't have naysayers in your ear going, you can't do this, you should go get a part-time job and all of those things. And I think that was one of the really big misconceptions I had. It's like I've always been very entrepreneurial in nature. To me, starting a business didn't really change who I was fundamentally because it's always been part of me. But there were so many people that kind of piped up and had those little
Mm.
chirping moments, and I was like, I love you and I respect that is your opinion, but that is not right for me, and we need a little bit more distance right now. So that was kind of an unfortunate awakening.
Hmm. But it's also what you need in your life to go forward with your own goals. And coming from a business, the previous spa that I owned, coming from literally servicing people to make them happy and satisfied during difficult times or celebrate every different type of time in their lives,
Mm-hmm.
to make and build them up. That was one of the biggest mistakes that I started off my art business with. Was I felt guilty or was so trained that if I didn't listen to somebody's advice that they were giving me, I was being almost disobedient and even I'll say disrespectful to that person. So I really quickly found that I was trying to make original paintings and also produce art prints. And I just jumped right in and not putting my artwork on certain pieces of merchandise because people said, don't do that or don't put it here or only do this. And I was so trained that if I didn't listen to all of those voices, that I was being disrespectful, which is wild because it's my business, but that was a trap I fell into. And the thing that changed that for me and helped me kind of overgrow that was realizing that yes, there's a few types of people that when you're starting out on your business, which are the ones that are just who's in your circle. Are they just there to complain with you on those hard days? Or are they there to offer you constructive criticism to push your business forward? Or are they just having, a bottle of wine and complaining with you? It's very, very different. And slowly I just decided, even if it's critique, I wanted to surround myself with people giving constructive feedback. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the hardest lesson on top of that was even if it's constructive feedback, I still have the last say. It still has to be what I want to do in my business. And I find fun, not always about moving the needle every day. Just what do I enjoy doing?
No, and that's so true. And I think that that's another kind of one of those big misconceptions is, there is one right way to run a business and you have to desire to scale and hire employees. And like, that's what you're supposed to do. Focus on the bottom line. And that is just plain not true, truthfully speaking. And while there are certain things you can do that are more effective and will help you reach your goals faster, there's no wrong way to have a business. You have a business.
Yes, of course. And that was something I struggled for months and months. And I did so much research, Brittany, and I had so many books out from the library and from chapters and all the business books that I bought. And I finally just this summer even, and it's a long time. That's the other thing I want people to understand is if you think you're growing too slow or you're not, you're supposed to. You're supposed to grow. Growing slow is absolutely fine. A lot of the work I do is congruent with the pace of nature and the lessons that nature leaves for us. And think of how slow everything grows all around us. So don't rush yourself. And it was just as of this summer where I was at a networking event and I said, I still don't have my business model nailed down the way I want to. Again, still framing it as if I had the spa, still thinking with that mindset. I don't have a business model. I went to a networking group. Everybody has their business model figured out but me. And finally, this friend who's been in business and a coach for years finally volunteered the information. It's because your business model doesn't exist. Nobody else is doing it the way that you're going to run an art business. So you're not going to find it in a book. You're not going to meet another artist and you're not going to say, that's my business model right there. She told me you're going to reinvent it differently because also that's what an artist does. We think outside the box, but I wasn't even giving myself credit for that. Right. I'm an artist, I'm a problem solver and I'm not going to do it like anybody else. So there's nothing for me to read or discover. That's to Brittany where I learned I just got to push the long-term goals back because I will figure it out the more I live it out instead of trying to plan it. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like that was another big thing that I might have touched on in my last episode, just about like I started and I had what I thought was a very clear picture of where I was and where I wanted to go in my business. And it was, so black and white at that point in time. And then you get in it and you live it and you realize that things change and you don't like doing this or this isn't working the way that you thought it would. So as much as I understand fundamentally why people create business plans, I also almost think that they're kind of a giant waste of time sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
You feel so like stuck in this way of what it should be because this is what you laid out and then it doesn't roll out like that. But I mean, truthfully speaking, in life, when has anything ever gone exactly as you planned from start to finish with no deviations or unexpected things happening along the way? Probably never. So like, why do you expect that
Right.
that's going to be what happens in your business? Like I've pivoted 3 times in 2.5 years about what it was that I was doing and the services that I offered
Hmm.
because what I thought people wanted or needed wasn't what they wanted or needed. So like you have to make adjustments because you can't plan for the human factor of your business, and there's always a human factor in your business.
Right. And one of the funniest revelations that I had that I think I'm so silly for not seeing earlier on now, it just makes me laugh, is all the time I spent in business incubators and workshops that I had joined online. And they're useful. Like you said, it grounds you, it gets you thinking in the right direction. But I
Hmm.
never felt like I fully fit in. And then I finally realized by talking to another artist that's had a career spanning 20 years. Um, and she finally said to me, "Why do you spend so much time trying to craft out your target audience? You're Everybody's going to connect with one of your paintings in a different way. Like somebody might be a construction worker, somebody might be a retired nurse, they might have kids, they might not. Like these people are all different. You are never going to be able to niche down who you're speaking to because the work speaks to so many people. So kind of
Hmm.
don't spend." And I obsessed, Brittany. I bought books over
Aw.
talking to your target audience. Like, but that's how you come into business. And so until you learn those rules and then, like we said, live it out, that you go, wait, I've been living this out for 6 months and it's still not working, so I'm going to break this rule now. I'm not doing that. I'm not making an avatar. you know
Yep. Yep.
right, but
And
you
you
don't
you
know.
don't know what you don't know or what you need to know until you're in that moment, which is so true. And I'm so happy to hear you say that you've kind of thrown some of those more traditional things to the wayside to find something that fits better for your business. It was also really
Mhm.
interesting to hear you say that you spend a lot of time in business incubators, which technically
Right.
speaking, I guess I have too. 4 years in business school is a very long business incubator.
Oh yes, yeah.
Personally, I have found the most growth and learning and like aha moments did not come from a textbook or sitting in a lecture. It came from being in my business, but also working on myself as an individual. It's come from learning how to meditate and journal, about how to go out and conduct market research, which we cover a little bit, but it's totally different in the actual real world of
That's a
how
whole
things
other
work.
degree.
It really
It
is.
is.
It really
It
is.
is.
So it's
Oh
like
gosh.
you physically cannot learn some of the things that you need to be a successful entrepreneur until you become a successful entrepreneur. So that whole myth around, oh, when I'm ready or when the time is right, it doesn't exist
Right.
because you're never going to be ready or feel like you have all the skills until you do it. Like I'm 3 years in my business and I'm still learning new things every single day. And I
Mhm.
probably will continue to do that until I stop owning businesses, which right now is not going to be anytime in the near future. So,
And nor should it be, right? And that's the thing. And again, like I said, I pull a lot of my life lessons from nature and what I've seen in my garden. And one of the
mm,
things that's neat is the species of flowers that rely on pollinators. They've adapted to what the pollinators need to take from them. But the flowers really just are the species they are. They really just work to improve themselves. They're not so concerned about what the bees are thinking about them. So when
mm-hmm,
you said, if we can flip that into, it's the funniest thing is when we always think of what we're selling, the commodity, what we're selling. We think of that as the forefront of our business. But as an artist, it's our job to reinterpret reality
okay.
and translate that for people. And so one of the things that I see different is, as the artist producing the work, producing the literal product that I sell, no matter what it ends up on, the image I have to make with my own hands.
Mm-hmm,
And painting and oils takes so many it's 8 decisions in a single brushstroke basically at a time.
oh,
And if I don't take care of myself as well, I have to consider my own health,
mm,
physical health, mental, emotional, how much sleep I've had, you know, how much I'm balancing work life. If I don't achieve that balance and that take care of myself, then I can't paint.
mm,
I can't run my brain to make the decisions. And yes, there's a certain component that's innate and it's intuitive, but it's still grounded in a certain craft or skill set like anything else. So if I have not taken care of myself, then I can't even make the product. So then the business stops right at the ground floor. So considering our own personal growth, no matter what you're selling, and some listeners might go, but I don't make my product. You still acquire, market, attract, and it's all in that, like they're purchasing what you have to sell, but you're attracting them, or your brand is attracting them, and that is energy from you. So it's all about, kind of go back to the flowers. It's all about how you decide to show up and open up at the beginning of the day, who you're going to get landing on you, right? That's what we need to focus on.
Very true. Yes.
And honestly, it works. It does work.
And I think that that's another big one too, is that everyone gets into this like hustle mindset. Oh, I have to put in the hours, the hours, the hours, the hours. I was like, some of my most productive days, I sat at my computer for 30 minutes and I spent the other like 7.5 hours playing with my kids. But when I sat down for those 30 minutes, I was grounded, I was focused, I had slept, you know, I had looked after myself, right. And I was able to give 30 minutes of like pure awesomeness to my business. Whereas if I had sat down at my computer 7.5 hours before that, I could have spent those same 7.5 hours doing that exact same 30 minutes of work because I wasn't in that space where I was able to give my best at that time. So really learning to reframe it and not, I need to work 30 hours a week. It's, I need to get these 4 projects done. And, you know, if I look after myself first, then those projects will be, you know, like 5 hours worth of work versus like 20, which is a whole different concept to really accept when you are kind of in that traditional 9-to-5 mindset of you put in the hours. It's all about the hours. It only matters how many hours you are physically at your job doing the work, not how much work you got done in those 40 hours typically.
Exactly. And I've been shocked time and time again by sometimes my studio hours, my working hours are from 7 p.m. after bath time till midnight, 1 p.m. Hey, that's reality, you know, or 1 a.m. That's the reality if you're finishing up a painting or on a push to finish something. And it's so funny how if I have spent the day with the family, or my daughter's 5, so she's busy, I actually paint better. And it's also about knowing yourself, but I paint more efficiently, more effectively. I'm more connected with the work. And it's not oh my gosh, I got to get it done. It's just, it means so much to me to finally get those studio hours for myself that I think my heart just pours out on the canvas better than when I have like a full 8-hour day that I can put in the studio. I'm actually not as effective as an artist. I just don't get as much done. I'll roll back or sit back and go, oh, I got 6 petals done. It's been like that. Mind you, my petals are detailed, but I could do the same 6 in a shorter amount of time if I've leaned into that life balance versus it's the same 6 petals in an 8-hour day. So it's so funny how the psychology comes into play there. Yeah.
Really learning to not force it, which is not something that we're traditionally taught. It's something that you actually have to learn from experience, which is, an interesting concept. One of the things that I had kind of wrote down that I wanted to mention earlier today while I was making notes is kind of in and along this line too, is, you know, you hear so many people on social media talk about how, you know, you can work in the pockets of your day and 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there. And sometimes
Perhaps.
maybe that is a thing, but a lot of times by the time you sit down and focus and figure out what it was that you were originally working on from before and like get back into the zone, your 5 and 10 minutes is up. So there's like there's like a whole industry of people out there talking about how you can grow like a multi 6-figure business in like 10 minutes here and 20 minutes there. And I was like, man, that would give me so much anxiety. It takes me like 20 minutes just to like focus in on the task that I'm doing.
Right. I have like such a funny perspective on that where, and I wish I had recorded myself doing it, but of course I was like social media shy at the time. I was like not even thinking about it being a business per se. I was just trying to get a collection of paintings accomplished and finished. And so I've kind of lived both where now I really love my studio time separated out from even the family lived in rooms in the house. Okay. I like my studio separate. For those of you who might be thinking, oh, oil is a toxic type of paint. I don't use any solvents. I use the color right out of the tube. So it's just linseed or walnut oil. So I don't add any toxicity to oils. So, I just wanted to say that at first because some of the paintings that have gone off and been represented by a gallery, it's funny you say that, Brittany, because it was set up in the kitchen at the kitchen table. And I would do a pedal and get my daughter a snack, do another pedal, refill her juice, do another pedal or half a pedal, or say, 1 second, I'm going to come help you. And that was just the reality of that time in the house and the setup we were living in. So, well, that's definitely not a flow I choose for myself. It can be done. It's just, I would often then feel like for my own brain, it was a lot more tiring, but I would feel like I had to finish the day off with a solid 2 hours on that piece because I just didn't give it my all. But I think it's just what type of person you are and when you got to get something done, you got to get it done. And you're a mom. That's sometimes you're painting at the kitchen and making dinner with the other hand. That's the way it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, many of times I'm making breakfast and watching a training video over here and like mentally preparing my to-do list. And it's not to say that it can't be done, but I definitely feel like it drains your energy levels a lot
Oh yeah.
faster to do that. And monitoring my energy levels has been something that I've been focusing on more in the last 6 months, and it has made a huge difference, kind of like what we were talking about with the journaling and the meditation. All that ties into helping me manage my energy. And again, not something that they teach in school.
It's not. And another like you said, I think it's a life skill too, that it's just you don't think about it. You're trying to implement so much until you're told is, well, I did act that way or paint at the kitchen table to get a few paintings done by a deadline. Ideally, I'm not a fun person to be around when I'm trying to keep up that pace. Like I found myself researching like so many supplements and hormonal health. And then finally one day I just thought, how about I just give my daughter that like like exclusive attention for a certain set amount of hours in the day. And then that's when I chose to move those studio hours late at night, eliminate because I was almost getting kind of frustrated. You get shorter tempered with your kids, and I'm going like, and then I would realize she's not really doing anything but being a kid. So it's me. Right. And it's that my brain is trying to operate and finish those pedals in my head and she's wanting to play, which is what kids do. And so that's the thing about being a mompreneur and in your own space in your own home is just also giving yourself the grace to say, I'm just going to be a mom right now for these handful of hours for when I have, and then I'll do my studio hours. I'll move that around, but just giving your undivided attention to what you're trying to accomplish. And then you can probably ditch a few hundred supplements or, all these hormonal balancing, you'll probably be a happier person. I promise.
Mm-hmm. It's so true.
Right?
So I'm curious what your take on this is from an artistic perspective, but a lot of my feed, specifically being in social media, is cluttered with people talking about having, 10K months and generating
Oh my
10K in
God.
revenue and like how easy it is to just make a template on Canva and sell it on Etsy. And I was like,
Multiply it,
uh,
divide it, copy it, paste it, and you're a millionaire. Right.
yep. Yeah, that is that it has not been my experience. I do not think it is most people's experience, and I think that they're really glamorizing that so that people pay them, which is unfortunate because so many people go on social media and they see this and it generates so much guilt for them because they are not living this easy lifestyle that everyone else
Oh
seems to
gosh, yes.
have.
hmm as much of a supporter of female run businesses, because like I said, I've been there and been in the trenches and it's hard and what we balance is difficult and our guilt as females is runs deep in us.
Mhm.
Um, I really almost hate to say this, but I view any of those types of programs that we're seeing come across our socials geared mainly towards females in business, small businesses, and mothers as predatory. I don't see any difference between any type of predatory because they're asking for her hard earned money, which is hard earned in those wee hours, to coach us through this or that. And while some of them are tried and truly valid, I have gone on particular platforms and blocked keywords such as business,
Mhm.
6 figure, mommy, any of those things I could think of, 1 month to, I will block any of those keywords because I don't want any of that showing up on my feed because it does affect you, what you think of yourself and your accomplishments. Um, as an artist, there's everybody. I think it doesn't matter what your industry is. There's always a squeeze that you should be doing something else. So, you're always just a little left of center. And mine, in the art world, I feel that because I'm not an illustrator, and because I don't do digital illustration, such as Procreate or surface design, surface patterns,
Mm-hmm.
I feel sometimes outdated. This is just like,
Oh.
this isn't true, but this is funny. This is what the internet does. This is what the trends do. So, because a lot of my paintings, you're not going to take them and put them on a child's jacket, or you're not going to, like, they don't translate into certain products. I feel like less of a trendy contemporary artist, which is not the definition of any of that, but it's all the courses, all the workshops are geared towards these types of artworks, which are fabulous. I love illustration, but they can be done in a day, and mine take months. So I will always feel behind. But when I'm done a painting, I personally think it's phenomenal. Like, I'm so proud of that work. So again, that's just, there's always going to be a trend that socials is showing us saying you should be. And for me, it's you should be painting single flowers, and then you're right, uploading them digitally, cutting them out, making stickers. I should
That's
be
a big
making
one, yes.
sticker packs of my oil paintings that take months on end, and I still don't really know how I feel about some of that. And some people have said, your oil paintings are glorious. Don't put them through digital and cut them up and make stickers out of them, for goodness sakes. Like, take them to the gallery, So, which again is a whole debate on opinion. But see, it's for an artist, as you asked, my artistic perspective, it's going to exist in every single industry, and there's always going to be something that, like, you think everybody's doing it. But then when I look at the masters or the oil painters that are, painting away today, even with me from around the world, we're still here. Not everything is surface and pattern design and, to be made as peel and stick wallpaper. Like, I don't have to fit into that category. I love peel and stick wallpaper. I get it. But my artwork just doesn't lend itself to that. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, absolutely. And I think that the kind of underlying takeaway is that there is no business that you will have that will be without outside opinions about what you should be doing. And there is no easy business. There is no easy money. That is not a concept that
No.
exists. And no matter how many people market it, there are some things that may be easier and get better results, kind of like what we said before, but like nothing is ever overnight, I think is kind of the big one. That is what I see. Just like, oh, it's going to happen so fast. You're going to get results fast. But like you said, flowers do not grow overnight. Baby weight is not lost overnight. Businesses are not built overnight. None
So
of
why
that
do we
happens.
expect that of our businesses, right? Our businesses are their own living, breathing things that we're pumping the life into, right? So why would we expect that to go any faster than anything else around us?
Hmm. But we
Pressure,
do. But we
society.
do.
Yeah. And that notion, like you said, what you're talking about with the trends and the messaging towards women, like, retire your husband. For goodness sakes, I don't want to retire my husband. Like, do we actually want them around? And then during my studio time, I'm not sure, or your partner, whoever you're there, like, he's
Hmm.
happy in his own life. I would joke when that trend came around, do you want to work for my art business? He's like, absolutely not. you know? So
It's
like,
good that you say that because that is something that I talk about in my business, but like that truly is a goal of ours. We want Grayson, and Grayson wants to be able to stay home
and
with the
I
kids. He's
love that.
enjoying his paternity leave,
Yeah.
but it is not something that works well for everyone, and it should not be a goal for you if it doesn't align with what you want. So I'm so happy to hear you say that,
And that's
hey, that's
Grayson's skill set, right? My husband would
yeah.
be lost in my studio. He doesn't want to touch a canvas. He's afraid to break them. So, right. It's all about what is like working, reevaluating and recentering yourself. Even if you go to networking, which I like, I'm a huge advocate for go network with people, go
Mhm.
meet people, even if it's just to hear like the similar struggle stories. But always come back to your center and just remember everything's a suggestion that they're they're brainstorming for you, but ultimately come back to your center about what you enjoy doing in the business. And if you don't enjoy having another person, we should talk about, though, as a mom, you've got to have a team. But that
Mhm.
doesn't always mean that they're right in your space working alongside of you. I have a team, but they support my artwork and they make sure it gets to where it needs to be, or it gets sold, or it gets seen by who it needs to be seen by. And that they work hard, for my art when it's done. But
Mhm.
they're still not right directly in my creative space, but they're still a supportive team that takes the weight off for me because I can't be everywhere and be a mom and,
No.
have a family and a house. I can't do it. So you have not failed if you have people who are lifting weight off for you.
Mhm. Yep. And whether that's, a partner that helps watch your kids, or whether that's a VA that answers emails in your inbox, or a house cleaner that comes over, because there is no business out there that is perfectly run all the time with a completely clean house unless you have a house cleaner. Those two just do not seem to exist in
Yeah.
tandem. So the key to any successful business is support, but we come from this mentality of we have to do it alone, and we are an island, and our island now has motherhood and a business, but it's still our island and it's only us, and like that is just, it's such a dated concept, but
Oh
there's still so
gosh.
many of us, and even myself, I find myself falling into that trap too. It was like I asked my mom, I was like, "Hey mom, can you take the kids one day this week?" And then she rattles off 100 reasons why she's too busy for it. And I'm like, "Okay, you know what? No, it's okay. They're my kids. It's my business. I'll figure it out." But at the same time, I'm like, no, like I need to ask for help. And if my mom's not available, okay, fine, I respect that. But who else can help alleviate some of that stuff for me? Because, I don't need to do this all by myself.
Right. And recognizing that help comes in so many different forms, like you said, right? Like if you can't find a sitter, what other component of your business can you offload to somebody else long term
Mhm.
to help you? So for instance, when some of the paintings started to sell, instantly another suggestion from somebody outside was like, well, you shouldn't, and my gallery's listening, I'm not doing this, but you shouldn't give them away to galleries. You should sell them for yourself. And I said, I don't want to. I
Mm.
don't want to. I'm still in a stage where I want to produce more collections, larger paintings. They're going to take me months longer. And when they're done, I don't want to learn marketing and sales. I enjoy the gallery I worked with.
Mhm.
Um, and they're such pleasant people. And I enjoy doing business with them because again, that was one of my values was
Mhm.
bringing people in. And if that means I give them a commission for the skill set that they do, it would cost me time and money and energy to do the same thing, but I get to work with people. And that's what I wanted, was to bring people in that love them as much as I do. So let them sell it. And then,
Ah.
yeah, that is a big component of the business that I give off to somebody else. And then it comes also in a smaller version where at my exhibition, my husband was there and, he's not in the fine arts. He grew up all in sports. He doesn't know very much, doesn't speak the language of the fine arts. He's kind of standing in the corner. And
Mhm.
I'm introducing him as this collection wouldn't exist without this man because he made all my dinners. Like
Mm.
he'd
Mhm.
come home from work, let me go down in the studio, and he would, take care of our daughter and bring me a plate of food. And that's why you're seeing the paintings you're seeing today. And it is a huge component and the
Mhm.
biggest help, but
Mhm.
nobody sees that, right?
No, no,
Yeah.
they don't. And it's like the
No.
silent partners that are supporting us, like Grayson bringing me water because I've been in my office for 2 hours without eating or drinking anything. And I was like, thank you, because I
Right.
have no concept of time when I'm working.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And also reminding us too to take the breaks, or come down and just kind of, I know when I am working on a painting, right? As most of us do, when the intuition does take over and you're totally zoned out, that creative flow is going. Even him just walking into my studio will kind of break me out of that stupor once in a while and be like, oh right, I
Yes.
have to go pee. I had to go pee 45 minutes ago, 5 colors ago. Right. And it's just that's still a level of support, which again is kind of offloading, um, a component of care for us too. But you got to have that team and don't make that mistake. Because, yeah, I tried to do absolutely everything. I tried to build a website. I tried to do e-commerce. I tried to sell the originals off the get-go before looking for a gallery myself. And very quickly realized it's not just that you get a sale, it's that you have to set up PayPal. You have to package them to not be damaged, to ship. What if it ships to Australia? Like I don't know anything about that. I am in my first year of this business and I'm giving myself grace to say, I'm going to be the artist. That's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
And the storyteller, that's what I'm good at. And I'm okay with giving away the rest or paying for the rest to be done or losing. I don't like that word, but allowing the business to pay other people to take the for me.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's one of the smartest things that you can do as a business owner, because the more time you can spend in what they call your zone of genius, the faster your
Right.
business is going to grow. So you have said it. You're like, I am the artist and other people will support me. And it's not that doing it yourself would be bad. If you were passionate about it and you wanted to learn how to ship things and how to market and how to set up a website, then like good for you. But
Great.
will
Yeah.
likely grow slower because you are now dedicating more time to these non-art generating projects. So you're not able to sell as many pieces of artwork.
And as with the entrepreneurial spirit across anybody, but when you layer that with being an artist and a visual artist on top of it, obviously I can't go near the web design, Brittany, because I'm a perfectionist with it. I
Mm.
am, I was at an event this past weekend and somebody said, can I grab your business card? And I said, I actually don't have them because I'm rebranding. I'm actually branding for the very first time authentically the business. And I said, I don't actually have them. I wasn't going to, spend to have something developed and paid for. And I said, I'm going through a process where I'm recrafting all of that, but I'm using a brand designer as a graphic designer to do that. And again, as not part of rushing that process, I said, if you want to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram or this is my name, but
Mhm.
just not having the business cards printed. And it's tough for me, but I know that if I was designing and doing all that from scratch, it would probably take twice the amount of time just because I'm going to layer that perfectionist thing that comes out best through my artwork onto too many areas, right? I'm going to want to everything to look just so, and then that's going to spread me too thin. So I really just say, hand it off to the designers and we work together still, but
Mhm.
they're making more decisions for me. And then I really get to just layer all of that like perfectionisty energy right into the pieces that I'm making. And again, that's part of you're not going to I've never felt like I've lost control over any creative
Mhm.
decisions by working with a designer, a brand designer, logos, web designer. That was something I feared in the beginning, but I actually feel like I have more control because I have more time again to take care of myself so that when they pitch an idea, I go, is that me? Is that this business? Does that feel right? Because I've spent more time knowing myself that way.
Mhm.
So,
It's so true. And I find that specifically for me, things happen in my business a lot faster because I don't spend so much time in that over analyzing. They present me with an option. I either like it or I don't like it.
or you don't. Yeah.
And then that is it. There's no 3 weeks of editing the same email 100 times to the point where it's now 10 different emails. It's like this
We've
is
all
what
done
I
it.
expected.
We've all done it. And then you never end up using it or sending it. And you're like, what? 3 weeks? Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Kind of like you were talking about business cards. I was like, yeah, I've got a whole pack of them sitting in my desk from when I rebranded and then I transitioned away from networking events because it didn't align with where I was in my life. With my daughter
Right.
in school all day, I didn't want to spend my nights out of the house never seeing her. So I was like, yeah, I spent a lot of time designing those and now I never use them.
Right. I know it's so funny as a lot of the direction we've taken with the branding that comes down has a lot of the decisions are actually fueled by not listening to anything I've read, heard, seen, or learned at a
Mm.
networking thing. It always comes down to those nights where I'm just painting in the studio going, what did I want to do this for? Why do I like doing this? And that's where like all the inspiration, all the decisions really come. Like it's like you said, with these incubators and these workshops and these drills, like it's actually simpler to just like, what do you want to do? And hand that
Yeah.
off to someone.
Which is fabulous.
Right.
So I'm going to try and wrap this up here because I feel like we could talk about this forever. There are so many different things that we hear or that we see on social media, but I feel like we've covered a lot of the really big ones. So who knows, maybe we'll do a follow-up episode after we've heard from you guys that are listening and be like, oh, you know what? I really connected with this, but this is also something I experienced that you didn't talk about. I think that would be super fabulous. So make sure you do reach out and share that with us. I'm on socials at Brittany Miller Socials. Amanda, how can they connect with you if they'd like to learn more?
Right. And like I said, we're growing, we're changing. So I'm going to lead everybody just to my Instagram page at this time, Brittany, because that's the best way to reach out. I love answering direct messages, just hi, or letting me know which paintings you love. I have a few of them there. So Amanda Inglis, Fine Art on Instagram. If you want to see what is left of my very first collection, it is still available at Westland Gallery in Wortley Village in London, Ontario. That's where most of my originals end up and are sent off to. So yeah, just connect with me on Instagram. Let's keep it real simple.
Yeah, and definitely follow her because she has beautiful artwork that you're going to want to see, and she shares some of it on social media. And if you are listening to the audio version, you should pop over to YouTube and check out so that you can see her beautiful birdhouse painting in the background as well. I've been staring at that the whole time we've been talking.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Brittany. This was great.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you all next week on the Go Get Great podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Go Get Great. I hope you found some useful tips and tricks that can help you make life and business work together. If what I said resonates with you, please share it on social media, and don't forget to tag at Brittany Miller Socials so that I can celebrate you for taking those first steps towards achieving greatness. Remember, success doesn't happen overnight. It takes dedication, hard work, and a lot of spirit. So don't be afraid to dream big and go after what you want. Keep striving for greatness. You get closer with every step forward, no matter how small they may seem. Until next time, go get great.